Our first speaker will be Alex, who will talk about deep tech startups.
Hello, hello. So my first slide is actually the introduction, but I guess I'll just start. So I'm Alex. I'm a bioinformatician. Okay. Originally, I'm from Ukraine. I finished Kiev Polytechnic Institute, a technical university in Kiev. I worked in bioinformatics. Both in healthcare and non-healthcare. Worked here in Kraków. Eventually, in 2020, I've co-founded a startup called H2O Biosciences. It's a molecular modeling startup. And there I worked as a CTO, developing a novel molecular modeling force field engine, which was a success. And today I'm here to tell you about my experiences and some insights, hopefully. All right, so a few words about this talk. This talk is for scientists, so for people who from academia or are working in the industry and are interested in startups, starting their own startups or just learn about them. It's about deep tech startups. So deep tech startups is effectively invention startups. It's a company in which you say, here, we're going to invent a technology. It's going to be useful. It's going to be great. No one can do this. It's a location agnostic, so I'm not going to be talking like how to do startup specifically in Poland, how to do startup in EU or anywhere else. It's more of general advice that can be applicable. It's an overview, so I'm going to be going really fast across a bunch of topics. The point of this presentation is to get you acquainted with unknown unknowns. So whenever you start something, there are things you know, there are things you don't know, and there are things that you don't know. You don't know. So I'm going to focus on the last, so people who are getting into this field know what to focus on. And it's going to be a really fast presentation. We don't have a lot of time left, and we have a lot of ground to cover. So what makes startup a startup? The first is unfair advantage. So that's something that cannot be easily replicated. It can be technologies that you're developing. It can be your network. It can be whatever. But it's basically something that prevents other people from saying, hey, we're going to do exactly the same thing, and we're going to do it faster, and we're going to do it better because we're a large company. The second thing is growth. The startup is constantly growing, it's constantly changing. Going back, there's also change there. It's a high risk, but all businesses are high risk, but startups are especially so. It's the source of funding. Usually startups, especially deep tech startups, they don't have revenue for a lot of time, and so they are relying on investments, they're relying on grants to really get themselves going. And the finality. So all startups have to stop being startups. Either they fail or they become a normal company with revenue, with cash flow, and so on. So as I said, deep tech startups are the startups where you invent something. So in deep tech startups, the main risk comes from your technology. If your technology works, then the market fit should be relatively easy. If that's not so, then probably your startup is not deep tech. So a few reasons, not reasons to start a startup, because you want to start a company, because you want to make a lot of money, because academia sucks, and so on. If you start with that, you're probably not going to see much success, because startup is, well, it is a hard stuff to do. It is a hard thing to start a company, to grow it, to make it successful. And so you need a good reason to do so. But the reasons to actually start at one is either you understand the problem that you're solving really, really well, or you have a pre-existing prototype or some initial form of solution that can, if made well, can really solve a problem that exists that is well known. So before we go any further, a lot of startups fail. It's not a winning business. You have to be really sure that you know what you're doing if you want to start one, because a lot of them do fail. So what you need to create a startup? You need to understand a problem, you need to understand your solution, and you need a couple of people. You can start a startup with just one person, but it's probably not going to be working that well. Generally, you need someone to take care of business aspects, you need someone to take care of tech aspects. The one who takes care of business aspects will usually become CEO, and the other one becomes the CTO. It's not always like this, but that's the most usual configuration. As time goes on, most of these things will change, and once again, startup is about change. You have to accept it and be understanding when you need to change and how you do it. So, components of a successful startup. As I said 2 minutes ago, the first is team. You need to focus about bringing the right people in, working with them, planning and budgeting, thinking how you spend money, how you make sure your money lasts you long enough, working with investors, the other side of planning and budgeting, making sure you know how to get money at the right time, know how to talk with people who are going to invest money in you, grants and other forms of non-dilutive funding. So once again, taking the money from sources that don't dig into your share pool, marketing, tech, and finally the exit. So how do you get your startup to stop being a startup? Yeah, and as I said, this is not a ranking, all must be done well. So, team. The startup lives and dies by its team. You have to really take care of them, of all your workers. Make sure, of course, you need to pay them well, you need to pay them on time and all that, but that's bare minimum. You need to understand them, you need to talk with them, you need to work with them, you need to manage them properly. Develop good recruitment, develop good HR practices from the beginning, make a good recruitment process, how you go from step A to step B to finally making an offer to a candidate. Involve people who already work in your company in the recruitment process so that they have a say with who they're going to work, so they can also ask some questions to potential candidates, potential colleagues that they're going to be working with. Don't be a prick. This doesn't just apply to your team, but to everything. Generally everywhere, but look, biotech is an industry of making good, right? It's an industry of helping people. If that's what you're setting out to be, don't make an exception to people who you're actually speaking to. Set up a part of your share pool as an employee options pool. As I said, you need to treat your workers well. You're going to be competing for very talented people with corporations, with large institutions. They're going to be taking a risk coming to work for your company. And they need to be properly compensated for it. They need to understand, okay, this is a risky business. We may close in a year or something. But if we don't, you're going to partake in our victory. And as I said, yeah, get your team to participate in recruitment. Planning and budgeting. So, startups are unstable. You may go for a year or more without any revenue. You might be thinking that, okay, in 6 months I'll have a prototype ready, and then you don't. You may think, okay, in 2 years I'm gonna have my revenue completely like stable, cash flow, all done well, and then you don't. So you need to make sure that you budget for it, that you budget conservatively, that you understand all expenses that you're doing, and that you understand that how your runway works and when you need to start going for investments, when you need to start applying for grants and all that. Usually the answer is right now, but still. Make a pitch deck, make a business plan. This is the beginning. You're going to be updating them constantly, especially pitch deck. If by the first year you don't have like 30 versions of your pitch deck, something has gone wrong. Make short-term projections, financial projections, how you're going to expand for a year or so. Startups are unstable. You won't be able to project much further than that with any accuracy. But for a year, yeah, you should have that. Later, make a more long-term projections. They're going to change. They're going to be inaccurate, but they're going to be a baseline of which you can work out. Yeah, if you're making new technology, as I said, you may think you're going to take a year to make it, and then it's not. So account for that. Make sure you budget conservatively. Make sure you understand where your money is going, how long do you still have, and based on that, you can make other decisions about your company. If you need to make something faster, just increasing the headcount, it won't work, at least in the beginning, because you'll need a lot of time to onboard people, to make them go into the processes and all that. Okay, financing and working with investors. This is a big one. You're gonna seek investments in form of rounds. So a round is a very discrete thing. You're gonna set up an amount of money you want to raise. You're gonna set an amount of shares that you're planning to bring into the company, so dilute your share pool. And you're gonna be going to investors and gonna say, here, this is my company, this is what we do, this is what we have done so far. Please give us money. And if all goes well, eventually you'll find someone who says, yeah, sure, why not? Let's do it. And then you close the round with a bunch of investors, you use that money, you have a runway, you go forward, you do what you want, do what you need to do, develop your technology, do marketing, whatever. And then you do it one more time, and then you do it one more time, until you get to the revenue, until you get to the exit. Ideally, you should know when you close a round what milestones you should get by the time you open a next one, so you know what you're working towards. Talk with potential investors as early as possible, even like years before. For example, you may just start a company, you are not ready to talk with VCs, with large funds who are giving like millions of dollars to relatively new companies. It will take you years to get to the point where you can talk with them, but you should still talk with them right now. Why? Because you will build rapport, you will build a reputation with them. You will be able to tell them, here, this is what we have done. And they're, okay, but that's still nothing. Come to us later. And you're like, okay. And you update them in a few months. And that's still not enough. And you do it a couple of times. And then you come to them and say, hey, remember we talked? You told us this is what you want to see. Here's what we have done. This is what you told us you want to see. Here it is. Let's talk business. And by that time, they will know you. They will know that, yeah, you didn't just appear and show them this data or whatever. You have been there for some time, and you have shown them that you work through it, that you can be relied upon. And so it will drastically increase your chances of getting some investments out of them. Seek a lead investor. So for each round, except for very early, like friends and family rounds, you would except for those, you would usually have a fund or a large investor who will be the first who will be on board with investing in you, or not the first, but the biggest. They can become your lead investor. So they will help you raise money. They will talk to their investor friends, their fund friends. And usually investors will trust each other if they know each other rather well. So they will more easily sign on to investing into you. A lead investor usually will want something for it. Usually it's a seat on the board, especially with VCs, they almost always want a seat on the board. So yeah, but that's how it is, and you should do that, you should seek a lead investor. In the beginning, in the first year or two of your startup journey, if you have a good due diligence folder, so a folder that investors expect to see when they want to learn about your company, you're ahead of a lot of other startups. If you have your financials in order, if you have your IP strategy in order, if you can show that you're organized, you understand what you're doing, you understand what they want to see, you're ahead of the competition. You should focus on understanding how to do that. There are a bunch of tutorials. I don't have time really to go into this topic, but seek out how to prepare for due diligence. Sorry. Be ready for negotiations. As you go on, the negotiations will go longer. That's fine. That's expected. You should be able to do it. Look out. Usually, each round will dilute your company by 15-25%. If more, then something wrong already has happened. You're not in a very good position. Eventually, you'll be offered a bad deal. Just understand that it will happen. Understand and be prepared for it when it happens, and accept it. Like, think through it with a cool head. Okay, grants. Investors love grants. Imagine if you have a company and you run it, and you have expenses, and a third of your expenses are covered by grants. That means every investor who will invest like $1 in you will get $1.30 for it. Everything they'll invest will go so much longer, and they love it. They really like when startups have grants, so look for them. For startup grants, there is an interesting thing that is different from academic grants. Often, they will want you to already have money. So if there is a grant for like $50,000, 50,000 euro, they will want you already to have that money. So they know if something goes weird, you will still go through with the project that's planned, it's going to be fine. But still, that's a very good way to increase your runway. And it doesn't dig into your share pool. Oh, and if you're coming from academia, think about whether some of the grants that you applied for while you were a scientist, whether they have entrepreneurial programs or they can support you a lot. Marketing. Do it as early as possible. You may think that you understand what people need very well. You probably don't. There's probably a lot of changes that are going to need to happen to your product before it can ship effectively, even if it's a deep tech startup. So I said, for deep tech startups, market fit is relatively easy. It's relatively easy. It's still very hard. So do it. Always check your assumptions. Whatever assumptions you may have about what people want, about what your product needs to be, always check it. Find key opinion leaders. Find people who will use your product. Find some early adopters. Talk with them. Get their feedback. And just do it constantly. But also know when you're right, when you understand what you're doing, and when someone from the market who is basing their conceptions on what's already there, they may not always see what your product will change, right? So understand that and understand when you're right. It's a balance, it really is. Generally, don't look for people's individual thoughts. Seek for broader trends that a lot of experts agree on. You can work off of that. Yeah, at the early stages, if you're a deep tech, market validation probably is not super necessary. It's very good, it will help you a lot, but at the later stages, it's an absolute must. If you're talking about pre-seed rounds, if you're talking about seed rounds, you need to have market validation. I can't tell much about your tech because I don't know your tech. So I can just tell about general approaches to developing a product for a startup. So the most important thing, you don't know how fast you can do it. And then you think, okay, I accounted for the thing that it will take longer. You're still wrong. It's still going to take longer than that. Once again, circling back to the marketing, seek market validation, always check your assumptions, always check your product. Know your competitors. If you don't know your competitors, that's a pretty big red flag. It's kind of forgivable for a very new company, but if you're at least seeking for tens of thousands of euros, you should know your competitors well. You should know why you're better or why you're different. Make sure you have freedom to operate. Make sure that what you're working on isn't patented. If you're coming from academia, your university probably has a technology transfer office. Work with them. They will help you. And make sure you understand IP protection strategy from the beginning. Make sure you understand which way you want to go. It can be trademark, it can be patent, it can be trade secret. That's also a thing. But just understand what you want to do. Whether you're working through waterfall, whether you're working through agile, or any other paradigm, make sure you have a requirements file, at least update it often. Your product will look very different at the end from how you first imagined it, but this will help you, first of all, when people are going to ask, hey, so you're developing a thing, what will it do when it's done? This way you can say, here, this is what we're developing, this is what it will be able to do. So, exit strategy. Exit strategy is about how you want your startup to stop being a startup, how you want it to become a normal company. There are two most prominent ways in which your startup can exit. It's that either becoming public, so doing an IPO, or being bought out by a large company. Both have advantages, both have disadvantages. Look up both, see what you want to happen and justify it, and then start working towards it. Whenever someone invests in your company, this is what they're looking for. They're looking for an exit. They're looking for a way to multiply their investment and, well, get paid. Yeah, this is what your investors will expect of you. And as I said in the beginning, finality is a part of a startup. Eventually, your startup will change. Eventually, if it doesn't fail, it will become something else. It can either retain itself and become public, or it can become a part of another company, and that's fine. And just accept that and make a company that you're going to be proud of even after you're done with it. Some unclassified advice that I want to give. So first, talk to people. Talk to people as much as you can. Look for early potential clients. Look for friends. Look for allies. In biotech, most people are pretty open, pretty welcoming. So yeah, just go around, talk. Business is about talking to people. And so the more you do, the better you become. And that'll help you. Invest in good lawyers as much from the beginning as you can. In the beginning, it can be a bit rough. They can be pretty pricey, so check your options. But they will pay for itself in the long run. When you're going to be doing big deals with big investors or with big clients, you would be happy if your early stage paperwork is just in the correct order and everything is fine. Think where you want to found a company. It's a very large topic. Different countries, different locations offer different benefits to companies. It's also a decision that you have to make. Even if it's by default, oh, I'll just incorporate where I am right now. It's still a decision that you have to make, and you have to understand the consequences of this decision. As I said, when you get a lead investor, or in some other cases as well, you're going to get external directors on your board. At the beginning, your board is just founders, but other people will come in. Those people are your friends, really. They also want to see your company succeed, so work with them. Ask them for guidance, ask them for help. They'll help you. Resist hype. So it's very easy to be like, oh, I'm going to tell everyone about how cool my startup is, and I'm going to do it for 3 weeks. That's 3 weeks that you aren't spending on your product. And as a founder, you have a lot of work. You're going to be wearing so many hats. So always make sure that whatever you're doing is what benefits your business. Find your biggest risk: market validation, financing, tech, whatever. Whatever your biggest risk at the moment, work on it. Because you, as a leader of a business, your first goal is to de-risk it, and second, to make it profitable. So identify your risks, do it often. Make a risk mitigation table where you list out all bad things that can happen with your company and what are you going to do about them. And update it like once half a year or something like this. It will help. And yeah, approach everything with a clear mind, open heart, and your chances will improve. Okay, at the beginning of at the end of each startup presentation, you're gonna have to do an ask. So you're gonna be telling about how cool your company is, how cool your startup is, and then you're gonna say, and this is what we're looking for. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tell you about organization I'm a part of. So I'm a member of Genomics UA. It's the largest Ukrainian bioinformatics community organization. We're doing events, we're doing lectures, we're doing courses. Recently we did a pretty big course on statistics with R, on single-cell RNA sequencing. And we're constantly expanding. We're constantly looking for new collaborations, for new people to talk to do something cool with. So if you're interested, I'm always happy to talk. I'll be here for the lunch. I'll be in Halilipova. And yeah, I'll be happy to talk with you. And if you have some questions about startups as well. All right, that's about it. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you, Alex. This one does it work? Yes, it works. Does anybody have a question for Alex right now?
So I think this whole talk has been very insightful, and for myself working in a startup, but remotely, it's like filling a lot of the gaps that are just missing when you're removed from the environment. I was wondering if there are some challenges from your experience that are very specific to biotech industry, or but even more specifically bioinformatics, because that's what you have been doing, right? So is there something that is very striking that comes to your mind?
Yes, thank you for the question. Explaining what you do. A lot of people, a lot of investors won't understand from the beginning what exactly you're doing, because it's about science. It's about very complex science, very specific science. And the results of our work are not always immediately visible. So to be able to break down into very simple terms what exactly are you doing, what it will help, who wants it, that's an important thing that you should focus on. It's pretty specific to biotech. And just one more word about biotech. If you're doing drug development, if you're making a therapeutic, your funding, your milestones will look very different from anything else. It's extremely specific because it's based on, well, a drug candidate going through the preclinical, clinical trial, going to the market. So yeah, look into it very precisely from the very beginning, because it's how your company will work for the next 10 years, if all goes well.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I don't think we have time for more questions, but we have a small gift for you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for the talk.